My parents flew across the country to attend my sister's art gallery debut in Portland, but they missed my college graduation entirely. When I asked Mom about it, she said, "We'll celebrate later." But then my professor mentioned me during his speech, and I got a phone call from Dad asking, "Why didn't you tell us?" The truth is, I hadn't known they wouldn't be there until 3 weeks before the ceremony. Not from them, but from a Facebook post. Vanessa, my sister, had announced her gallery opening for the exact same weekend as my graduation. The post was flooded with my parents bragging about how proud they were and how their flights were already booked. When I called Mom, I could hear the annoyance in her voice. "We'll celebrate later, honey. Vanessa has worked so hard for this. It's her big moment." And I asked, "What about my big moment?" Her reply was cold. "You'll have other achievements. This is Vanessa's first real gallery show. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event." I wanted to scream that graduating summa cum laude after juggling 2 jobs was also a once-in-a-lifetime achievement. But I just said okay, and hung up. When graduation day arrived, it was gray and chilly. I sat among my classmates, scanning the family section out of habit, even though I knew it would be empty. My roommate, Sarah, had her entire extended family there, 3 rows deep with a banner. When my name was called, I walked across the stage alone. The applause felt hollow. Then came the departmental awards ceremony. I nearly skipped it. I was emotionally drained and just wanted to go home and pretend this day didn't hurt as much as it did. But Professor Chen had personally asked me to attend, so I dragged myself to the lecture hall. He opened his speech by talking about academic excellence and the students who embodied their department's values. Then he said my name, this year's recipient of the Henderson Research Fellowship. Full funding for graduate school plus a $45,000 stipend, awarded to a student who published 3 papers as an undergraduate, maintained a perfect 4.0 GPA while working 25 hours a week, and whose thesis on renewable energy systems was already being cited by industry leaders. The room erupted in applause. People I barely knew stood and cheered. Professor Chen smiled and said, "The student will be joining Stanford's PhD program this fall, and we couldn't be prouder." I was shaking. The Henderson Fellowship was the most prestigious honor the department gave, but comes around only once every 3 years. I had applied, but I never thought I had a chance against those whose parents funded their research without worry, who didn't have to choose between lab time and rent money. As I walked to the stage in disbelief, my phone buzzed nonstop in my pocket. By the time I sat down, I had 17 missed calls from Dad, 9 from Mom, and messages flooding in. The first one I read made me laugh bitterly. "Dad, why didn't you tell us about the Henderson Fellowship? This changes everything. We would have been there." I stared at that message, feeling a cold weight settle in my chest. They knew about my graduation date and ceremony. What they didn't know was whether I'd achieved anything worth celebrating. Mom's text came next, dripping with desperation and false sweetness. "We had no idea you were receiving such an important award. We thought it was just a regular ceremony. Congratulations, honey. Can we video call?" I turned my phone off. That night, Vanessa called me from an unknown number I hadn't blocked yet. She was crying. "Mom and Dad are losing it," she said. "They're saying they made a terrible mistake." Her voice cracked. "They want to fly back tonight. They're talking about throwing you a party." I told her, "No, but they feel awful." "Good. They should." I had worked 4 years, submitted my thesis, told them all about my research, and they never once asked if it mattered. She went quiet before whispering something that stunned me. "I told them not to come to my gallery opening." I blinked. "What?" "I told them to go to your graduation instead. They chose me anyway. I wanted to tell you, but Dad said, you'd understand because you're the reasonable one." I hung up. 2 months later, they're still trying. Apology texts, offers to visit, promises to do better. But every message proves they still don't get it. They're sorry they missed a fancy ceremony. They're not sorry they missed me. Last week, Mom sent a card with a check for $5,000. "Congratulations on your fellowship. We're so proud." I mailed it back with one line written inside, "This is not the celebration I needed.